War. There was going to be a war. Brieg focused on breathing carefully. He was trying not to let himself hyperventilate. Mustn't panic, mustn't cry out. Cat would be asleep already. Brieg lay still on his cot, trying not to think about swords. It was very hard not to think about swords. He was imagining being on a battlefield. He had never seen a real battlefield, so the place in his mind was actually the horse pearl wheat field at the farm where he had lived for half a year when he was even younger than Cat was now. It was still a battlefield in his head. He had a sword in his hand, and he didn't know how to use it. A Gen barbarian was hacking at him. He couldn't run, he couldn't fight, he couldn't scream. Brieg tried to push the image out of his head and to keep breathing deeply and evenly. Brieg had been stabbed once when he was younger. It had been the most painful experience of his life. That had been a tiny little shiv made by another street kid. Swords terrified Brieg more than anything else. Arrows, fire, falling, drowning, sharks, none of these matched the terror that a sword held for him. Of course, he didn't want to die in any of those ways, but the other threats were just something to avoid. Swords were the only thing that gave him nightmares. There was going to be a war. The Jinn had killed the king, and everyone knew it. People talked about unimportant things, but Brieg knew other people were scared too. He could hear frightened whispers in the next room over. Thank goodness Cat was sleeping. Knowing she was asleep helped give him the strength to keep breathing evenly. He didn't want to wake her up. There was going to be a war. The new queen would be drafting an army, and strong young dockhands wouldn't be able to stay dockhands. They would be forced to become soldiers. They would be given swords. If not for Cat, Brieg would have already signed up with any merchant or pirate crew headed anywhere else. Srappa was his home, but he didn't want to be there anymore. He wanted to ship out. There was going to be a war.